All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, as fans of the Detroit Tigers just saw their favorite baseball team make the playoffs for the second consecutive year, they might soon have to face the harsh reality that their team's best player might soon be playing in another MLB city. Now, there is no doubt about it that Tarik Skubal is one of Major League Baseball's best pitchers, as he will definitely be in the conversation to win the American League Cy Young Award for the second consecutive year. But with a pitcher as dominant as Skubal has been, it also comes with a lofty price tag, which the Tigers might not be willing to pay. Now, Skubal is set to become a free agent after the 2026 season, and that, along with the fact that there is a premium for quality starting pitching around baseball as well. That you have a guy like Skubal who's represented by Scott Boras, the super agent, that all equates to what is more than likely going to be an astronomical price to have his services long term. Now, you ask yourself, how much would the Tigers be willing to spend on Skubal? I'll tell you like this: if I was a betting man, I'd say the floor on any deal with Skubal starts at 200 million. Okay, and you know that the Tigers are going to have to commit some years. So honestly, it's probably going to be closer to 250, maybe even more, depending on the years. All right. And unless if the Tigers are able to make an offer that is going to appease Scott Boras between now and the start of spring training in a little bit more than 4 months, well, then the Skubal watch in Detroit is going to be underway, in my opinion. Okay, we've already heard about rumors about the Tigers possibly shopping him this offseason. Okay. And it's one of those where getting back to Boris, you know that Boris has a very hard line when it comes to negotiations and his clients, and especially if it doesn't get done by the start of spring training. Okay. He always wants them to play out their deal and get to free agency. But let's just say the Tigers are willing to move on from Skubal. You know that their asking price is going to be through the roof. And again, it goes back to the fact that there's a premium for quality starting pitching around baseball right now. And I think they would get it, okay, due to the fact that, there are some teams out there that would be willing to go out there and spend the money and give up the prospects to get a guy like Skubal. I guarantee you this, that this Skubal situation is going to be a sticking point for MLB team owners a year from now when the current CBA expires, as the bulk of them are looking for a salary cap. And of course, the smaller market team owners are going to use this as an example to say, hey, we really need a cap, because it's one of those where a guy like Tarik Skubal should be in Detroit long term. And I'm not going to put all of this on the small market aspect because, like I've said before, the teams that want to compete are going to go out there and do whatever possible and find a way to compete. I think they're just going to use a team like the Tigers might just use this as an excuse to say, hey, you know what? We're going to go out there and move on from him. I don't see them, you have to wonder maybe if the Tigers, whether or not they're going to roll the dice for next season if there's no long term deal made. I doubt it because it's something that's going to hang over this team's head. And just for the sake of argument, if Skubal was on the Tigers opening day roster, I guarantee you next year by the trade deadline, he's not going to be there because if you're Detroit and you know that you're not going to sign this guy, you definitely want to get something back in return for him. So with that said, does a potential work stoppage for MLB in 2027 put Skubal and Boris in a bind, being that they might not get the money that they're seeking? I doubt it because I think when it's all said and done, I think Tarik Skubal is going to get his extension. Most teams that I could imagine who would be willing to trade for Skubal and give up the prospects. They want to make sure that they're going to have a negotiation window more than likely to sign him long term prior to be willing to give up those prospects to make it happen. So you ask yourself how many teams could realistically afford to give the prospects the Tigers that they'd want along with paying Skubal. Well, I think at the top of the list has to be the New York Mets. People might not want to hear it right now because they're in the World Series, but guess what? Never count out the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think I'd put the Yankees in that mix as well, possibly the Cubs, maybe the Red Sox, and possibly the San Francisco Giants. But I truly do think that the Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers are all going to be at the top of that list. If you're the Mets, of course, we saw the Mets fall short of the postseason this year, and their lack of starting pitching was an issue. Remember, only Colorado and Miami had fewer quality starts this season than the Mets, and you got to wonder if things were different as far as if the Mets had better starting pitching, would they have made the postseason? I truly do think so. Mets also have one of the top farm systems in all of baseball. The Dodgers, it's one of those where the rich just simply get richer. And then, like I said before, with the Yankees, you got to put them in that mix as well. So when it's all said and done, it's going to add, if you will, I think if Skubal does get traded, it's going to add to that divide with the smaller market owners who are going to say, hey, you know what? This is a continuing problem. We can't afford to keep our guys, and they always end up at the big market clubs. So I'll ask you this, or I'll ask myself first and foremost: have we seen Tarik Skubal play his final game for the Detroit Tigers? And I think it's a very good possibility. I'm not going to sit up here and say it's a guarantee, but it is a possibility. I mean, again, if you're the Tigers and you know that you're not going to give Tarik Skubal the long-term deal, you're not going to give him the big bucks, you might as well get something back for him. You're talking about a guy um, who has close to 500 strikeouts in the last 2 years. Over the last 2 years, he's 31 and 10, an ERA of 2.30. And the bottom line is he's an ace. He's a legit frontline starter. And again, if you are a team that is serious about winning, you need a guy like this in your rotation. It would suck for Tigers fans. And honestly, it sucks for, some of the smaller market teams around baseball when, their guys are coming up for a contract and, if they're a star player like a Skubal, well, guess what? His days are numbered. And pretty much if I have his favorite jersey, it's about to be a throwback. But nonetheless, I don't think that this issue is going away anytime soon. It's being talked about, but it's going to be talked about more when the World Series is over, especially once we get closer to the winter meetings and such. But nonetheless, I think Tarik Skubal's days with the Detroit Tigers are numbered. And like I said, if he starts the 2026 season in a Tigers uniform, I would highly be surprised if he's there after the trade deadline. At this point, I just think it's a matter of which team that he's traded to, who the prospects are that the Tigers get back in return, and how much that a team is willing to pay to have Skubal take the mound for them every fifth day. Pitching is a premium in Major League Baseball more than ever. And if the Tigers aren't willing to pay Skubal what he wants, I guarantee you they're going to look for a king's ransom back in return. And let's see how this situation works out. But, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw on this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. Like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. And the same goes for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, be sure to check out the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.